Welcome, and thank you for tuning into Yoked. We are your hosts. I am KC.
And I am Jermaine.
And Yoked, we are having real conversations and telling stories that are building covenant marriage through love and laughter. And we are talking about dating and marriage because this is
Oh
what
yeah.
we do.
Oh yeah. We date because we're married.
Yes, we still date each other. Not as often as we would like, but we do.
Yes.
But yeah, so this is our, I guess, first official episode of our second season. We kind of took a break around the holidays, so it's kind
As
of season two
as everyone
ish.
else did as well. So
Yes, but it was needed. It was one of those things where we weren't trying to take a break, but we needed to take a break, and we ended up taking a break, and it was amazing. So now we are back and ready to jump into 2020. So, if you've listened to our podcast before, thank you so much for coming back and joining us. If you
thank you.
are,
Thank you. Thank you.
if it is your first time here, welcome.
Welcome.
You will get to know us very quickly. We are serious, but not really. We love to laugh and joke, and this is how we built up our marriages.
We take play seriously.
Yes. Yes, play seriously. That's going to be our new tag. No, it's not. It's not going to be our new tagline.
It's okay.
So anyway, so before we jump in, let's talk about what we have coming up for our Memphis couples.
Oh yeah. Or if you're within driving distance of Memphis.
Yeah, within
we don't
driving
mind.
distance, you can totally come by. We are having our second annual couples vision board party. I love saying second annual.
Second annual.
Yes, second
Okay.
annual. We did it last year. We had a great time. Found out last week that one of our couples who attended the vision board party last year got engaged.
Oh yeah.
And on their vision board was marriage. Like that's what they talked about, and definitely the woman, what she talked about and what she was, planning for, and they got engaged. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty. It was a good thing to see. We found out on social media. So
Yes, of course.
and maybe they'll come back this year and
Their
plan their
wedding.
wedding.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, that
Yeah, we
would
should
be.
make sure they come back. We'll have to like call them out as our like highlighted couple from the first vision board party. But that is one of the like really fun ways that we get to sow into marriages here is by
Yeah.
getting couples together, to actually work together and work toward a common goal. So we had a lot of fun with that last
Fun
year.
stuff. Fun
Yeah.
stuff.
So the couples vision board party will be February 21st,
February 21st.
2020
Yep.
at Pyro's Pizza on Union Avenue.
It's on a Friday night, so
Yes.
Friday night date night.
Oh, yeah. And you can get the tickets on Eventbrite. They are $35 per couple. So two people can come for $35. We'll have food and prizes and lots of fun. All your supplies will be provided and it'll just be a good time. So we hope to see you there.
A few snacks.
Yeah. So for our topic today, we are talking about having marriage advocates.
Yes. You probably have never heard that term before though.
We didn't make it up, but it's not a very commonly known term.
You probably heard
But
the word marriage and the word advocate, just not together.
yeah. So, I think more people will be more familiar with like a marriage mentor, I
Yeah.
suppose. That
Yeah.
would probably be it.
Yeah.
So, we're talking about our marriage advocates. We went through a process before we even got engaged. And this is kind of, I think this is kind of where Yoke started, really,
Yeah,
was this process.
I think so. Kinda. We didn't know it was yoked yet.
No, we didn't. But I mean, this is the basis for this whole ministry was like us going through this marriage advocate process. So, let's talk about what led us to get marriage advocates. And I think like the way the story goes, you're definitely better at telling the story because I was not bought into this process at all.
She wasn't. I had to
No.
do a little bit of sweet talking or a very logical explanation. Okay, so here's what happened.
I was like, you don't
We-
do sweet talking.
I
You
tried.
don't do sweet talking.
And so we at that point in time in our relationship, we were we were talking about our relationship. Sometimes we're talking about marriage. Other times we're just talking about how much fun we have with each other.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm thinking this whole time, yeah, she wants to get married.
Mostly I was saying I want to get married. So yeah, I was thinking about it.
But for me, I wasn't so sure. It's not that I didn't want to marry her. I wasn't sure if I wanted to marry anyone. Like I wasn't sure I wanted to even go through the process again because I had been married before. And so for me, as I was considering being married again, I was also reflecting on my previous marriage. And part of the reason why I was so hesitant was because I don't feel like we were really properly prepared to enter the marriage the first time. And so I'm just like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to make sure we're prepared to do it. Not ready necessarily, but prepared. Those are two different terms for me in my brain.
Yeah.
Being ready and being prepared are two different things. So I want to make sure we were prepared. And so I was thinking, well, what if we talked to couples that have been married for different lengths of time, and we talk to different couples and just ask them whatever it is we want to ask them. You know, I would pick a couple, you pick a couple. At least that's how it was in my brain at first. You know, I pick a couple, you pick a couple, or it doesn't really matter as long as we talk to somebody. And if we talk to enough couples, one of them will eventually scare her out of wanting to get married.
Boy, you had no idea. You had no idea.
And
That
so
was not going to happen.
that was a thought process. I seriously, part of me was like, okay, if we're gonna do this, we need to be prepared. But another part of me was thinking, okay, she's gonna hear so much horror and drama from these couples that she's not gonna want to do it, and I'll be okay because I won't be the bad guy because she won't want to do it, not me.
You know, in retrospect, if you wanted to scare me out of marriage, we should have picked different couples.
Probably. See, my good-hearted self said, well, I can at least I can pick some nice couples.
Right. You should have picked like the worst couple, like
I didn't.
on the brink of divorce and have like dealt with every issue under the sun. Like that's who you should have got to talk to.
Yeah.
But even then I would have been like, that's not me, I'm fine.
My heart just wouldn't let me do that, honestly.
But I mean, you know, being realistic, and I can laugh about it now, but being realistic, when he proposed this whole situation, I like had like a full blown meltdown. I was like, why are we doing this?
And when we were talking about it, we were on our way to go visit my family in Mississippi. There was something going on, and we pulled up to an outdoor picnic, a fair that was happening. Excuse me, y'all. It's been a long day. So we pull up to this picnic or fair or whatever, and that's at the point where you were like the maddest.
Yeah.
And I just found a parking spot. I was like, okay, we got to go out in front of my family, and she's upset. We're just gonna sit in this car with the air conditioning running until we fix this.
Yeah, I got a little mad.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. But I mean, I can say it that in my naivete, I felt like, I know I'm being fancy. I felt like I love you and that's enough. Like I have all of this eros love for you that's enough for us to get married. Like everything else is irrelevant. I don't worry about what else is going to happen. I've got this particular kind of love and that should be sufficient. So I don't understand why you're trying to put me through all of this extra work to like prove to you that I'm worth marrying. Like that, I think, and I didn't say it to you then, but that was like the biggest hang up, was because in all of my other like previously very toxic relationships, it was all like me proving that I was worth marrying. Like I found self-worth and my validation in someone wanting to be with me. And I think I thought that I was past all of that, but then when it came up again that you're like, no, we need to go through this and make sure that we're compatible and that we can actually, weather the storms that I know are going to come in marriage. I was like, I've been here. We've been friends for 4 years. You know me. We've been dating for 2 years. You know me. I should not have to prove that it's okay to marry me. And I think that was kind of like the underlying
Mm-hmm.
anger and rage was like, why do I have to keep proving myself to you?
Right.
And then on top of that, like all of the stuff we kind of went through at the beginning of the relationship, because you were still trying to like tear down some of the walls around your heart, and I had to do a lot of like extra work to tear down those walls, and I felt like I was still clawing at bricks when I thought the wall was down.
That's fair.
So a lot of that was came out in, I love you, this should be enough, why are we going? It was a
And
hot
so
mess.
and
It
so
was a
to
hot
and
mess.
so to answer her question, why is this? Why is me loving you not enough? What my response to that was, well, that is enough, but it's not sufficient. Like we still need to go through a process to understand what we're getting ready to walk into.
Mm-hmm.
Most other major decisions in our lives, we put, weeks, sometimes years into finalizing those decisions, such
Right.
as what college you're going to go to, what kind of career path you're going to pursue, buying a home, purchasing a car, any type of major decision like that. We take, weeks, sometimes months or years to make those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to, choosing a life partner, we always, most of us go in with the attitude they're good enough, and that's where we stop.
Yeah.
um well, he or she treats me well enough now, this is good enough.
Yeah.
Or um they get on my nerves a lot, but I really like this thing right here, so let's, I can fix all the rest of the stuff after the marriage.
Yeah.
Or once we get married, this stuff ain't gonna fly no more. So get it out. I'm gonna let this person get it out the system now, because once we get married, this ain't gonna happen anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stand for it.
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to prevent. I didn't want to be just good enough.
Yeah.
I wanted to be prepared, sure, no doubts. Let's go.
Yeah. So once I calmed down, and saw things from a logistical standpoint, I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's find some couples that we trust them, we admire them, we respect them, and they've got some skin in the game. Like they're
Yeah.
not just you know they're dealing with the realities of marriage and we're willing to share that information with us. And so before we kind of get deeper into that, I want to talk about this myth of you shouldn't involve anybody else in your marriage. Now, I get where people are coming from because, you have to protect your marriage. And we talked about that,
Yep.
last year,
Yep.
protecting your marriage, guarding your heart, all of those things. So you have to be very careful about who you choose to have as a marriage advocate. But the thing is, we're stronger together as a community, as a village, as a Christian people who are going after the same goal.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you find somebody who is, they want the best for you in your marriage and they're not going to, steer you wrong. Like if they're grounded enough in scripture to be able to say, hey, go ahead and get your feelings out, have a drink, whatever you need to do. But once you finish, let's come back to what Jesus has said, about this situation. Let's come back to the covenant that you have agreed to when you exchange vows with your spouse. Like those are the people that you need to have in your life as a marriage advocate. And I know one of the couples in particular, like we've been, like really, really close to them for, even before we got married. So we've
Yep.
been really close with them for like 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the wife, she's one of my best friends. And when I'm having, an issue or a struggle or I'm frustrated, I can call her and we can laugh and joke and she'll let me vent. But then she'll always point me back to Jesus. And she is one of the best people I think that, we could have picked to be marriage advocates for us. And I think it was, oh my gosh, it was a couple of years ago. But I went and I did a talk, and I was talking to this group of women about having marriage advocates and the importance of having, couples who would feed into your marriage and just kind of support you in marriage. And this lady got up and she just kind of like railed against me and was going on and on about, you shouldn't let people into your marriage. They're just going to cause trouble and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I was personally offended, even though this was her opinion. She had a right to her opinion. But what upset me the most was that this lady had been taking care of her husband for decades. Like he had been, chronically ill his entire life or their entire marriage. And she had been taking care of him by herself for decades. And she was so lonely and broken. And she talked about how, I've been struggling with this and I've been doing this on my own. And I'm like, why don't you have anybody there to support you? Because that's not easy, taking care of someone who's chronically ill.
Right.
I mean, I'm chronically ill, and I'm pretty self-sufficient. Like I don't have anything that's like life stopping, but you're still married to a partner who's chronically ill, and I know that if I were worse off where I could not physically take care of myself, that would be something hard on you, and you would need a support system. And just listening to this lady just broke my heart and just kind of like reinforced for me the idea that you really need to have couples in your corner, especially, who will support you and lift you up in marriage and lift you up in prayer.
Yep.
So I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking, but that's okay.
I mean, you just talked that one part. It's okay.
I know. I just feel like I'm running my mouth sometimes.
That's what we're here to do, talk. So once we agreed to move forward with this, we had to then, I guess, come up with the questions. Mm-hmm. And that was, I think we came up with all the questions like really one night.
Yeah, we kind of like went to our respective corners and like and like wrote questions.
Yeah.
And it was just like every single question that we could think of, and came back together and like anything that was duplicated, we pulled it out. And
yeah, we put them all together on one list. I think we came up with probably 3-4 pages of questions.
It was almost 4 pages worth of questions.
Yeah, and it wasn't like tiny writing single space questions. There were some.
We needed room to write.
Right.
So
and then we also created a kind of a form letter / invitation for the couples, because we wanted to, for this conversation, for them answering these questions, we actually wanted to take them to dinner. So we didn't feel like cooking for any of them.
No.
But we were like, well, we can take you to dinner.
Yeah.
And so we included the form letter with the questions, and then we put the questions in an envelope, and then we gave them to the couples.
Yeah, so kind of like the like people do the things like, will you be my bridesmaid? Like we sent them, invitations and said, will you be our marriage advocates? So I'm going to read this because Titus 2 is one of my favorite chapters, especially as I'm getting older. I'm, loving becoming a Titus 2 woman. And especially because I had Titus 2 women in my life, and especially through this whole process of preparing for marriage. So I'm just going to read Titus 2. It's the New Living Translation. And it says, it's Peter talking to Titus. And he says, as for you, Titus, promote the kind of living that reflects wholesome teaching.
Is it Peter or Paul?
Paul. Sorry, Paul. I always get them mixed up. My bad.
Gotta rob Peter to pay Paul.
I'm stealing Peter's words. I mean, Paul's words and giving them to Peter.
Yeah. Keep taking them.
Anyway, so as for you, Titus, promote the kind of living that reflects wholesome teaching. Teach the older men to exercise self control, to be worthy of respect, and to live wisely. They must have sound faith and be filled with love and patience. Similarly, teach the older women to live in a way that honors God. They must not slander others or be heavy drinkers. Instead, they should teach others what is good. These older women must train the younger women to love their husbands and their children, to live wisely and be pure, to work in their homes, to do good and be submissive to their husbands. They will not bring shame on the word of God. In the same way, encourage the young men to live wisely. And you yourself must be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. Teach the truth so that your teaching can't be criticized. So that's Titus 2, verses 1 through 8a. And it talks about, the roles and responsibilities we have as older Christians to teach the younger Christians to keep the kingdom of God moving forward. So that's what I always look to when we, are suggesting people get marriage advocates, and when we were looking for the marriage advocates for us going through this process. So you really have to have discernment when when you're picking people to be your advocates. And we kind of joked around about the title of this episode, and I was like, maybe we should have the title be, when it comes to marriage, don't talk to your pastor, or something like that.
Yeah.
I was being funny.
Yeah.
I was having a moment.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's, not even just your pastor, but, if you're looking at a couple that, I'm just going to say it. If you have like the pastor and the first lady, but the pastor's trying to hook up with all the women in his church, he's probably not the person that you want guiding you on marriage.
Probably not. No. No, probably about it. You just don't.
No, you don't
just
want that.
avoid it. You should probably just leave that church too.
Right.
But that's another conversation.
Right, because we could talk about the church I did leave because of that situation. But anyway, if you have a couple that, the guy is wealthy, he's got this thriving business, but that he is, doing a legal business or something, like that's not the person that you want mentoring you on how to do things the Christian way. Mm-hmm. Just be very discerning and discreet in who you're choosing to be your marriage advocate. So
yeah, the if you hang out with a friend who's married and he's okay with like flirting with other women while y'all are out having a drink, or just out watching the game somewhere, and he's okay to just flirt with other women.
Yeah, no.
Nope.
Also, yeah, I'm not going to let you hang out with him, but
I don't know this guy. I just made him up.
I know. But I mean, those guys exist. And, and those women exist too. Yeah. It's not just a man thing. The woman that, goes out and she's away from her husband and, sitting in the laps of other men. That's not somebody that you want, advocating for your marriage.
Laughing and accepting drinks. Okay. So...
we've been binging 90 Day Fiance, so so that happened. That is a
funny show.
Yeah,
that is a funny show.
So the couples. Let's talk about the couples that we picked. Not having to name people, but
yeah, and so I think the two couples that came to my mind, two or three couples that came to my mind were couples that, I mean, they went to church, with me, mm-hmm. but I didn't choose them because they went to church with me. I chose them because of one they had the marriage that looked like what I wanted ours to look like.
Yeah.
And so, they had kids, and they had healthy relationships with their children. Their children were not like disobedient or, just running wild all around the city. They had good management over their home.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like, okay, maybe they might be good choices. One of the couples were kind of up in age. They were like in their 50s. And so I chose them for a very, very specific reason, because I wanted to understand how they'd been,
No, they're older than that, but that's okay.
They're older than that now.
Yeah. I was like, that's irrelevant. Never mind.
Yeah. Right. And so, yeah, just wanted to understand, back then, wanted to understand, like, okay, you've been married for 20 something years. You know, I know there's no secret, but can you at least give us some guidance on some specific things, because there were some questions that pertain to older couples.
Yeah, he asked. I'm just gonna say it. He
Okay.
asked the husband. So if you don't know, I'm older than he is, just by a little bit.
Just by a
I,
little bit.
I'm a puma. So he asked the couple, like, how do you deal with menopause? And
So
I was
yeah,
mortified. I
and
was like, I
so,
cannot believe you just said that.
but the question, so we asked, the question was on there. So
Yeah.
the reason why I asked that, it was because I'd seen on TV where there are some episodes of some TV shows where there's a married couple and the woman is experiencing menopause, and the man, of course, is seen as portrayed as being incompetent
Mm-hmm.
and not able to really do anything other than, oh, I don't know, I'm a stupid guy. I don't like that. That's something that drives me up a wall when people try to take one negative characteristic of a man or a couple of guys that they've experienced and apply that to the whole male gender as us being incompetent or stupid or incapable of doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
That drives me up a wall. And so what I did was I just asked this guy, hey, I noticed you two are a little up in age. Your wife has probably gone through menopause, I'm assuming. So, how did you support her through that? And that's basically how I put the question.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "Oh, well, here's." And that was something that was on my mind, because again, I didn't want to be. I don't. If I know something's going to happen, I like to have some sort of preparation.
Yeah.
So when I get there, I kind of know at least what to expect. I may not know exactly what to do,
Yeah.
but I know what to expect.
Yeah. So I mean, I appreciate you asking the question, and I mean, we're not at that stage yet, but a lot of the health issues I've had have been centered around, like, the reproductive system.
Hmm.
So even though we're not experiencing the menopause phase, it's still, come in handy, like how you can support me in the areas of, reproductive health. So,
Yeah,
it
and
really, it did come in handy.
yeah, because and at that point when I was asking the question, I didn't realize how severe your condition was.
I didn't either.
I didn't know, so
I didn't know either.
it's like, whoa, okay,
Yeah, so that was something that all of this prepared us for. And then we had one of the other couples you chose. They're the same age as us, but they've been married for a really long time. They have 3 children.
hmm,
So we're the same age, but they've had many different life experiences. So,
hmm,
we talked to them about how do they manage, 2 full-time jobs, at the time, a teenager or preteen and an elementary school kid, and dealing with having to take care of their older parents, and they had all of that stuff going on
yeah,
at our age. And then we picked one of the couples had kind of been like, is my god sister, and she's kind of mentored me through the whole dating and dating with intention kind of thing. So they were one of our mentors. And then we picked my aunt and uncle, who I've have a very strong marriage and are not conventional, I
hmm,
guess.
yeah,
And talking
yeah,
to them about how they handle their marriage, because one of the categories that we had dealt with church, and, like, do you go to church together? Do you go into ministry together? Like, how do you do that? And they've been married 30 something years, and they've
long
never
time,
gone to church together.
never,
We were like, what? But I mean, it works for them.
yeah,
So, it was interesting to see their marriage from that perspective, where they were like, we don't have to do everything together. We are strong in who we are as a couple, and this is how we live our life. And I was like, all right, cool. We're gonna go to church together, but I'm glad that works for you. So,
yep.
so it was very interesting. Um, but yeah, so what do you think? I mean, you explain, like, the value of this process and how it, like, helped us.
So one of the I mean, there's value in understanding what could happen in the future and the different possibilities that lie out there. For example, one of the things we asked about was asked asked. I'm tired, y'all. You know what I'm trying to say.
Inquired about.
Yes, one of the things we inquired about was finances and how you handle those things. I there was there one couple that had separate finances?
I don't think so. I think everybody had joint.
Joint.
Yeah.
Okay. So all the couples had joint finances, but there were some that had separate kind of
Like savings accounts.
savings or separate kind of play money accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So this is your personal money. This is what you get per week or every 2 weeks. You spend it however you want it.
Yeah.
Type accounts. And so, just understanding that there are different ways to do marriage. Like there's not just one way. And then also another valuable piece of information was that getting the reality check that marriage isn't going to be all, just roses and ponies.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not going to be this love bubble situation forever. Like you may be riding on a high now that you're engaged or now that you're talking about marriage or about to walk down the aisle, but it's not going to be like that forever. It's not going to be like that for the rest of your lives. And people's worlds are crushed after they have that first big fight and they're like, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
And they think to themselves, what happened? We never even talked about this before we were married.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that sends people into counseling. You didn't talk about something that was important before you got married.
Yeah.
You thought somehow it was just going to fix itself once you walk down the aisle. And you realize that walking down the aisle is just that. Walking down the aisle is a commitment.
Yeah.
Not a fix-all.
And I think for me, like doing this process really, like you said, helped to prepare us for marriage, because all of the stuff that we had kind of like outlined, this is how our marriage is going to go. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get married. We're going to wait a whole year. Then we're going to start having kids. We're going to have 4 children. Mm-hmm. We're going to do, this, that, and the third. And then, a year and a half into our marriage, we're struggling with infertility. You had quit your job essentially, or you got fired from your job.
I got fired.
And so you were unemployed for a year almost.
9 months.
Yeah. And
very long 9 months.
Yeah, that was a long 9 months. And so all of the plans that we had, like nothing went the way that we planned. Like nothing went the way we planned.
I mean, we went into marriage with a plan.
Yeah.
The only part of the plan that actually happened the way we planned was the honeymoon. Once we got home, like we were planning, okay, we're not going to be so involved in ministry work. That changed. We're going to be healthy. We're going to travel all the time. That really didn't happen as much as we wanted it to. We're going to wait a year to have kids for her to come off the pill, and then we're going to, get pregnant a few months later because that's just how it works. That didn't happen.
No.
I'm going to be at this job. I'm going to be at this job for a very long time. I'm already successful. So I should be, moving up in the company, and we should be totally fine. I got job security because I'm great at what I do. And, I know it. That didn't work out.
Nope.
Just a lot of things. I gained more weight. I thought I was going to lose weight after the marriage. Didn't happen.
No. Nothing went according to plan.
Nothing.
But this whole process made us really look at, I think it really made us look at each other in a different light. And then we had, really, really great mentors when we did our premarital counseling too. So that helped continue the process. But, the entire thing made us look at each other and look at our marriage with an agape love.
Yeah.
Which, that is way different from the eros, like, oh my gosh, you're so sexy, I have to have you now love.
Yeah,
like,
we have that.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do.
Right. But we also have that agape love that out of everything that we've been through since we've been married, not once has spending time away from her ever entered my mind.
Yeah.
Ever.
Oh yeah, we'll get mad, and then we'll go to bed, and you go to sleep, and I'm mad because you sleep, and I'm up, and I'm mad.
But I'm snoring though.
Yeah, and that makes me madder because how can you sleep when I'm this angry? Um, but it has never, it has made us look at our marriage, through different eyes, that we're looking at each other as God sees us.
Mm-hmm.
And because we put so much time into preparing for marriage, it made it that much easier for us to do that.
Yeah. I mean, when we were about to go through this, I was telling a couple of guys that what we were gonna do,
Mm.
and they said, "Well, that's a waste of time." I said, "Well, why do you say that?" Because he said, "Well, when you get married, you're gonna come up, you'll handle that stuff anyway, naturally. Like that's just gonna be something you argue about later. I mean, why argue about it now?"
We didn't argue, but I think if
No.
we didn't talk about it now, we would have been arguing about it later.
Yeah, and that's the difference. When you're happy, you can talk about things.
Mm-hmm.
When you're calm and not emotionally heightened, you can actually have a rational conversation about things,
Yeah.
and you can form logical thoughts, rational thoughts, coherent thoughts that you can share and exchange with each other. Versus when you're heated, when you're hyped up on emotion and adrenaline, and you're just trying to win an argument.
Yeah. So yeah, it was really good. And I tell people now we're 8 years into our honeymoon phase.
Yeah,
Not to say that we have not had our disagreements. We are not perfect, but we have the tools to actually be able to handle, the different things that come our way. So, if you are, considering engagement, if you're engaged and, wanting to make sure that you're doing the right thing, we absolutely encourage you to, follow a similar process. We're more than welcome, more than happy to, help kind of walk you through this process and give you any information that you need because, like I said at the beginning, this is kind of where Yoked was born, even though we
yeah,
didn't know it yet,
yeah,
because we realized how valuable it was for us to do this. And we, had the mindset that if we can help other couples to build these really strong, solid foundations before they walk into marriage, that we will give, covenant marriages or help to give people's covenant marriages a chance to really make it, and help
yeah.
them be practical in being married.
Yeah. One of the things that this process really taught me was that as a male, really have to put myself in a position to lead.
Mm-hmm.
And this process helped me to do that. Um, I think sometimes us as men are kind of lost when it comes, and again, I am talking to men,
Mm-hmm.
but us as men are sometimes lost when it comes to leadership. Understanding how to lead a household, understanding how to lead a family, um, because us ourselves, a lot of us didn't have that example, or we didn't have a good example.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have a proper, a healthy example. We may have had an example, but it wasn't a great one. And so, when it comes to issues of understanding how to talk to my wife, address her, and get her to understand what it is I'm trying to convey and where it is I'm trying to lead us as a family unit. It takes some it takes skill. It's not just something you automatically know how to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that you're just, oh, I'm a man, so you're just supposed to follow me. That's not how that works. It doesn't work that way on your job. It doesn't work that way in churches. It doesn't work that way on the playground. It doesn't work that way anywhere you go. So it's not going to work that way in your home. So in order to lead properly, a lot of times you need some coaching. You need some guidance. You need somebody who can relate to you on your level and to help you understand how I should talk to and address my wife or future wife or
Mm-hmm.
my partner.
Yeah.
And so understanding the nuances of how to do that you're gonna need some coaching, and I think having going through this process will definitely help you and teach you how to do that.
And I think, I want to kind of piggyback off of that too, because you said this process helped you as a male learn how to lead, and it helped me as the female woman help meet. It taught me how to be submissive. And it helped me understand the whole mindset of the submissive wife, to know that it is not being a doormat and being run over by my husband. It
Right.
is being prepared and equipped to walk alongside you and to work with you as a true team, to figure out, okay, this is what we're going to do and this is what needs to be done. But ultimately, you have this responsibility. Like, this is your burden to carry, but I have a say in it, and I'm a part of this team. I'm not just sitting on the side and not having a say in how this marriage works, or our household is going to be run. Like, the only time I'm allowed to not have an opinion is when I'm trying to decide what to eat, because I don't do that. Like, I'm terrible. And sorry guys, we never get over this ever.
I always ask her. And so I've even learned how to ask her now. Like, I don't just ask her, "What do you want to eat?" Because no,
No.
we're setting us up for failure.
Yes.
I'm setting us up for failure when I just ask, "What do you want? What do you want to eat?"
Because he has learned how to lead me. Okay, we're taking it too far.
No,
But,
I mean that's a real thing that
Yeah.
people disagree about.
yeah.
So now I offer options.
Yeah. But I mean, this process
Two
taught me.
options. She gets 3 options on Sunday, 2 options every other time.
Yeah.
And if sometimes I just make a decision. I say, "This is what I'm stopping to get," and she'll say, "Okay."
Yeah, and that works for me, because I'm terrible about decisions. But it really helped us, this process. And I don't know if we went into it with this goal necessarily, but it really helped us to learn our roles and our responsibilities in marriage, and like to teach each other
Yeah.
like what we were supposed to be doing.
The marriage advocate process, the engagement and planning the wedding process.
Yeah.
I was not missing in the planning of the wedding process.
Yeah, you were not passive at
I
all.
was very active.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm getting married too, so I should have a say in how that happens. Again, something I learned from the previous marriage, but again.
So yeah, if you again have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to us. We will be more than happy to help you. If you have friends who are dating, engaged, considering all of these things, send them our way, pass our information along. We're more than happy to work with anybody who is willing to, take the information. So
Look for our premarital workshop coming. A goal is for us to get it planned and happen in March.
yes, we will have the premarital workshop in March. Accountability. We're putting it out there.
Yes.
So that'll be coming. So again, thank you so much for listening to us. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast, like it, share it, and rate us, because we definitely get positive feedback when we have ratings. And if there's something that we can do to improve, if you think we ramble too much, just let us know. We'll try to keep it under control a little bit.
You love us. You love us.
But yeah, let us know what you think. Give us a rating. Tell your friends all about us. Make sure that you go and like the Yoked Facebook page, and we can continue the conversations there. You can also find us on Instagram at Be Yoked and on Twitter at Being Yoked. So thanks again for listening, and until next time, bye.
Love.